what I'm going over with my students right now is taking the back from everywhere. Okay, you guys said you were working on some closed guard, so I'll go over the closed guard portion of that with you. What I'm trying to go over with them now, and honestly in my games, I'm trying to simplify the amount of steps that I'm doing by not thinking of them as steps and more as like rules. Okay, so here's what I mean. What are the three main things or the three rules of taking the back? Right? I wanted to break that down and think about that as simply as I could. Okay, and if I'm going to take the back, I need to control an arm, a leg, and his ability to turn. If I can have those three things, my chances of taking the back, skyrocket. And I can use those same principles and apply them in different areas, right? So taking those principles and applying them to the closed guard looks like this. Okay, so when I go for an arm drag, which is what I'm going to do because I need to open the ability to take the back, right? If his shoulders are square with mine, if I try to come up, I'm going to hit something, right? We're going to think of these as walls. Okay, the shoulder is creating a wall against my shoulder here, so I won't be able to take the back. Okay, plus he has his hands to push me down too. Okay, so I need to eliminate that. So I'm grabbing cross sleeve with a cuff right here. Okay, so I'm not squeezing the gi in my hand. It's gonna burn out my forearms. Okay, so what I'm doing instead is I'm pinching my middle finger to my thumb. As my thumb goes inside the sleeve, I pinch and I roll that over my fingers. And now I've made a pocket for a sleeve to fit in. So the more he pulls, the tighter the grip gets for me. Right? And as long as I keep my elbow glued to my hip, I have the grip. I don't have to squeeze, right? I'm hanging off of it. If my elbow is extended and now you pull, see, no good, right? Same thing? Way different, no squeeze, okay? So that's my first part, is this anchor. Before I even think about dragging across, I have to have a good place to start. So that's where my elbow goes to the hip fold, okay? Good place to start, a nice anchor to myself, okay? My opposite hand is gonna grab, because you'll see there's this big armpit gi area right here. I love this. It's one of my favorite places to grab, okay? Same concept, elbows closed. So as I'm ready to arm drag, instead of dragging his arm, which I feel like the arm drag is a huge misnomer, I'm not ever dragging his arm across my body. That's difficult, right? I'm against the ground, me pulling against the ground, there's finite amount of movement that I have here, right? Which at a certain point becomes an advantage for him. So instead of dragging his arm across with this pulling motion that's gonna stop, I'm gonna anchor myself to him and move myself. And at the same time, follow rule number 2, which was control the leg. It doesn't even have to be the leg on the same side. As long as I control one arm and one leg, I can start to take the back, because then I can go to step 3, which is control the way he moves, okay? So as I go to drag the arm, or to really move myself out of the way, my foot is gonna post to his knee as I scoot and pull myself up, okay? So here, I'm scooting out of the way as I step to the knee and I pull myself up, okay? So step 1, control the arm. Step 2, control the leg. Now my chest here is step 3, control which way he turns, okay? He wants this shoulder to come back up, to square back up with me, to get an underhook, to create another wall. So here, this hand now is controlling the sleeve and it's a post against the mat, okay? While this hand here anchored in the armpit, I'm gonna use that to push. And notice how my foot posts and my hip comes up, okay? So here, the hip comes up and I snatch my underhook, okay? Now with my underhook here, I'm not reaching super far yet, because the more I reach, if he goes to snag that elbow here, so you reach and try to go for my elbow, yeah, if he controls this arm, now I'm in danger of getting rolled. So instead, I'm gonna control the lapel, and my elbow is gonna close against his hip, okay? Creates the same thing. I'm creating the same tension that I want to control his back to my chest and keep my elbow safe, okay? Still dictating which way he can turn, because now I'm creating almost like a turning motion. You see that? Kind of how I'm pulling and controlling here. if he decides to try to roll and tuck that way, I follow and I throw my hook in, right? So he's not gonna wanna do that. He's gonna still try to fight to get this shoulder up and go to a dogfight situation, okay? So to prevent that, my elbow is gonna close as I drop to my shoulder, and I'm posting off this foot here. I drive, and I go to the back, here. Getting my hooks in, immediately starting to attack collars, all that good stuff. Okay? So we're getting rid of the illusion of moving our partner so much. Okay, the more I move my partner, right, the more open I am, the more open he is, and it's just not real. You know, if somebody's way bigger than I am, it's gonna be really hard for me to drag across. Look, at a certain point I have to move myself anyway. So why don't I start doing that and build a nice structure on the way? So we control the cuff of the sleeve, elbow, control the pit, elbow also, okay? Now as I go, I post my feet, and I turn my hip out, and I immediately start climbing. I miss the foot on the hip. So as I go here, I post, that is what I want, right? If I miss that step like I just did, so if I come through here and try to drag and I miss that step, you have that knee to drive off of now, right? My leg is kind of stuck in the way. Sure, I can still follow, right? Because these grips are strong, but now it just feels clunky. So instead, we move ourselves out of the way, step at the knee, immediately start hugging for this lapel. All right? No, I'm sorry. Here, anchor. There we go, that feels better. Right, I'm anchoring, pulling down on the armpit, keeping my chest to his back. Here.
3, 2,
control the lapel.
Rest.
Drop the arm. I'm taking his arm with me as I collapse and brace towards the shoulder, like a shoulder roll almost.